November 5th, 1975. A remote forest road. A blinding flash of light erupts from a hovering object. One man approaches and vanishes. 6 terrified loggers witness Travis Walton disappear, seemingly struck by a beam. For 5 agonizing days, he was gone without a trace. When he reappeared, traumatized and confused, he told an impossible story of abduction. But what truly happened during those missing days? Was it contact, an elaborate hoax, or something far stranger? The answers might shock you. Stay with us. It began like any other workday ending. November 5th, 1975. The Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in Arizona. A 7-man logging crew, weary after a long day, piled into their truck, heading home down a secluded mountain road. The foreman, Mike Rogers, was driving. Among the crew was 22-year-old Travis Walton. Nothing suggested this evening would rupture their reality, plunging them into one of the most perplexing mysteries of the 20th century. Then they saw it. A luminous object, described by the crew as a large, flattened, metallic saucer-shaped craft, hovering silently, impossibly, perhaps 30 meters away, just above the treeline. It emitted a brilliant yellowish-amber glow, lighting up the darkening woods. Panic began to ripple through the men crammed inside the truck cab. But amidst the fear, something else stirred in Travis Walton. Against the urgent shouts of his crewmates to stay put, to get back in, Walton did the inexplicable. He exited the truck, seemingly mesmerized, drawn towards the strange light. He moved closer, almost beneath the hovering object. Why? Was it reckless curiosity? A sudden, overwhelming compulsion he couldn't articulate or control? Or was something else, unseen, unheard, guiding his steps into the unknown? The remaining crew could only watch in disbelief. As he stood beneath it, gazing up into the impossible structure, the witnesses reported a sudden change. A beam of intense, almost turquoise or blue-green light shot down from the craft's underside, striking Walton squarely. They described a physical impact, a concussive force that seemed to lift him slightly off the ground before throwing him back violently several feet. He landed limply on the forest floor, motionless. Terror, raw and absolute, consumed the remaining 6 men. Believing Walton was dead, killed instantly by whatever that beam was, and perhaps fearing they were next, Mike Rogers slammed the truck into gear. Panic dictated their actions. They sped away, leaving Walton's seemingly lifeless body behind, bathed in the eerie glow of the unidentified craft. But what exactly did they witness in those frantic, chaotic moments? Was the beam an energy discharge, a weapon, or something else entirely, something designed for capture? And was their panicked interpretation the only possibility for what occurred under that strange, silent craft? Their flight from the scene would soon cast a dark shadow of suspicion upon them. The crew didn't drive far before the weight of their actions, the sheer terror and confusion, forced them to stop. They argued, wrestled with the unbelievable reality of what they thought they'd seen. Eventually, they turned back, cautiously returning to the site. But the clearing was empty. The craft was gone, and so was Travis Walton, vanished into thin air. Shaken and desperate, they drove to the nearest town, Snowflake, Arizona. Imagine trying to report that to the authorities. 6 rough-looking loggers, claiming their friend was zapped and taken by a UFO? Unsurprisingly, Navajo County Sheriff Marlon Gillespie was deeply skeptical. The initial reaction wasn't belief, but suspicion. The prevailing theory, foul play, that the crew had perhaps argued with Walton, killed him, and concocted this wild UFO story as an elaborate, almost laughable cover-up. Why else would they leave a man behind, dead or injured? The pressure mounted immediately on Mike Rogers and his crew. Despite the disbelief, a search was mandatory, and it grew quickly. Over the next few days, hundreds of volunteers combed the forests alongside law enforcement. Horses, helicopters, search dogs, every available resource was deployed across miles of rugged terrain surrounding the site of the alleged incident. The national media picked up the story, turning a local disappearance into a sensation. Yet, day after agonizing day, The result was the same. Nothing. Not a footprint, not a torn piece of clothing, not a single drop of blood. No trace of Travis Walton was found. It was as if the forest itself had swallowed him whole. How could a man disappear so completely, especially from an area under such intense scrutiny? Where could he possibly be? The suspicion on the crew intensified with each passing hour Walton remained missing. Then, late on the night of November 10th, 5 days and 6 hours after he vanished, the phone rang at the home of Travis Walton's sister. On the other end, a weak, distressed voice identified itself as Travis. He was calling from a phone booth at a gas station in Heber, Arizona, miles away from where he disappeared. When his brother Dwayne found him, Travis was huddled in the booth, physically and emotionally wrecked. He was dehydrated, had lost around 10 pounds, and sported several days' growth of beard. He was wearing the same clothes he had on the night he vanished. Crucially, he was deeply confused, asking how long he'd been gone, initially believing only a few hours had passed. He had little coherent memory of the intervening 5 days. Where had Travis Walton been? How did he arrive at that specific remote payphone? His physical condition, was it consistent with surviving 5 days exposed to the Arizona elements in November, or did it suggest something else entirely? And why the profound disorientation about the passage of time? The mystery deepened immeasurably with his return. As Walton slowly recovered, fragments of memory began to surface, disturbing, disjointed images that formed the core of his extraordinary claim. He described waking up, not in the forest, but on a table inside a room, experiencing intense pain and difficulty breathing. Above him, he recalled seeing figures not human. He described them as small, maybe 5 feet tall, bald, with large, unnerving, dark eyes, pale skin, and underdeveloped features. Classic grays. Perhaps, though the term wasn't widely popularized yet. According to Walton, panic set in. He fought back, striking one of the beings and scrambling off the table. He claims he ran out of the room and down a corridor within what seemed to be the craft. He then encountered a different figure, taller, human-looking, wearing a helmet, who seemed calmer. Was this a different species? A controller? Walton couldn't say. This figure, he recounted, led him through the craft, possibly into a larger bay or airlock area where he glimpsed other, similar disc-shaped objects parked outside. Finally, he was taken into another room, forced onto a table by more human-looking figures, without helmets this time, and a clear, mask-like device was placed over his face. His next conscious memory was waking up on the highway near Heber, seeing the craft depart silently into the night sky. But what are we to make of this account? Are these genuine, recalled memories of an extraterrestrial abduction and examination? Could they be vivid hallucinations brought on by trauma, oxygen deprivation, or some unknown event in the forest? Or are they something more complex, screen memories, perhaps designed to mask an even stranger reality? Why the specific details, the different types of beings, the sequence of events? Walton's story was bizarre, terrifying, and utterly uncorroborated by conventional evidence. The return of Travis Walton didn't end the questions. It ignited a firestorm of controversy. Seeking validation, Walton and the crew agreed to undergo polygraph examinations, hoping to prove they weren't lying. The results, however, only added fuel to the fire. Multiple tests were administered by different examiners over time. An early test arranged by the UFO group APRO reportedly showed Walton passing, while the crew yielded mixed results, with one member, Alan Dallas, allegedly showing deception or inconclusive results initially. However, Dallas and the others later passed subsequent tests conducted by other examiners. Walton himself passed multiple tests throughout the years. But polygraphs are notoriously controversial. Are they truly reliable measures of deception? Can they be beaten? Could the stress and bizarre nature of the claims themselves affect the results? Skeptics seized on the initial inconsistencies and the inherent limitations of lie detectors. The lack of physical evidence was another major point of contention. No unusual radiation levels were detected at the landing site. No unexplained fibers or materials were found on Walton's clothes. no undeniable proof of an extraterrestrial craft was ever recovered. For determined skeptics, like the prominent debunker Philip Klass, this absence of proof was paramount. Klass championed the hoax theory, suggesting Walton and the crew might have fabricated the story, perhaps inspired by a recent TV movie about an abduction, the UFO incident, or possibly due to a dispute over their logging contract, hoping the delay and publicity would help them. Could financial gain from book and movie deals, which did come later, have been the motive all along? Or could it have been a shared psychological event, a form of mass hysteria or folie à plusieurs, triggered by an unusual but natural phenomenon? Yet, the counter-arguments persist. The crew members, despite initial suspicion and intense pressure, largely stuck to their core story for decades, facing public ridicule and scrutiny. Most passed multiple polygraph tests administered by different operators. If it was a hoax, it was incredibly elaborate and maintained with remarkable consistency under immense pressure, with no deathbed confessions or whistleblowers emerging after all these years. What motive could truly justify such a long-running, life-altering deception for all involved? Decades have passed since that November night. Travis Walton's life and the lives of the crew were irrevocably changed. Walton documented his experience in the book, The Walton Experience, later adapted into the film Fire in the Sky. It's worth noting the film took significant liberties, particularly with the abduction sequence, Hollywoodizing it for dramatic effect, a point Walton himself has often clarified. Despite the passage of time, the controversy, the skepticism, and the firm beliefs of those involved, the Travis Walton case remains one of the most famous, most debated, and most referenced alleged abduction accounts in UFO history. Why? Perhaps because it includes multiple witnesses, a documented period of disappearance, physical effects upon return, and controversial polygraph evidence. Ticks many boxes, yet solves none definitively. So, after all this time, what can we say for certain happened in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest? Distressingly little. We have the testimony of 7 men, initially terrified and inconsistent, later largely cohesive under scrutiny. We have a 5-day disappearance confirmed by a large-scale, fruitless search. We have a man returning in distress with a bizarre story. We have polygraph charts that raise as many questions as they answer. And we have a complete lack of undeniable physical proof. Was Travis Walton truly taken aboard an alien spacecraft? Was he the victim of an elaborate, lifelong hoax perpetrated by himself and his friends? Did they misinterpret a natural event and suffer a shared delusion? Or is the truth something else entirely, something outside our current framework of understanding? The case remains an enduring enigma, a puzzle with too many pieces missing, or perhaps pieces that don't fit any picture we currently recognize. What piece of this puzzle do you find the most compelling or the most disturbing? The mystery of Travis Walton continues to challenge our perceptions of reality, forcing us to confront the uncomfortable possibility of the unknown. What do you believe happened during those 5 missing days? Was it a close encounter, a complex deception, or something else hidden in the shadows of the Arizona woods? Share your theories, your questions, your doubts in the comments below. If you're drawn to the unexplained, if you believe there are truths yet to be uncovered, then subscribe to our channel and enable notifications. We delve into these mysteries, always questioning, always searching. And if this story captivated you, share this video. Perhaps together we can shed a little more light into the dark.